Say something, Michael. Say something!
Hello everyone and welcome. Perhaps many of you watched the whole Halloween series. Yet, the character of Michael Myers or Boogeyman remained mysterious and incomprehensible. Is he a psychopath, a superhuman, or a robot? No one knows, even those close to him like his sister Lori and Dr. Loomis. Today, we'll try to solve the mystery of this man, the mystery that have puzzled a lot of people, and we'll scientifically analyze his nature by reviewing the entire series, from his childhood to the last released movie in this series in order to reach the best possible conclusion. Michael's story begins with a rebellious little boy who kills weak animals, and these crimes have always been hidden because he shows kindness towards animals in front of people and kills them in secret. This was commented on by the psychologist Loomis, who said,
Mrs. Myers, typically the thrill of hurting or causing pain to smaller creatures, it's often an early warning sign for much deeper and bigger problems.
Now, if we go back to his family, we'll find that his father has passed away. His stepfather treats them badly and always gets in trouble with his mother. His mom was a sex worker in a bar, so he was scorned by his classmates. Furthermore, his sister treats him badly and disrespectfully, which makes him an outcast by everyone except his mother. He committed his first crime at the age of 6 against his colleague who showed him a naked picture of his mother, as if killing animals was nothing more than training and preparing for the worst. After that, he tied up and slaughtered his stepfather and killed his sister's lover after caught them having sex in his family home, which was disrespectful for him. Then he put an end to his sister. However, surprisingly, he have always treated his younger sister Lori well, and that's where Michael's mystery story begins. But was this all sufficient to make him a serial killer? There are many abused children who didn't become murderers. However, research in neuroscience reveals that criminals are born with a brain that has a low level of empathy compared to the ordinary people, and if being abused in childhood, there is no way for them only to become criminals. It seems that Michael has been under a high level of pressure, so he have quickly learned how to kill animals and found it easy to apply that to humans because of his brain structure. When he was placed in Grace Anderson's sanatorium, his mother never ceased to visit him. However, after the incident of stabbing the nurse, his mother committed suicide, and his relation with the outside world was completely severed. Here, he stopped talking, and his obsession with making masks increased even more. But nothing really happened after that. He only remained silent making masks until he was provoked by the guards at the age of 21. Then he started killing them one by one, and so a new story of murder began. A nightmare has not ceased up to now. Despite the obvious fact that he was a psychopath created by bad conditions, if we focus more, we'll find that there are strange things that don't apply to any other serial killer. We noticed that most of his crimes took place on Halloween nights, and serial killers with similar backgrounds such as Gray Ridgway and John Wayne Gacy typically hunt one victim after another without committing to a specific day of the year. So, the question is Michael an ordinary serial killer or an assassin? He was subject to many murder attempts, immolation, shooting, and stabbing, but he always returned to his nature after a certain period as if nothing had happened to him. So the question that arises, is he a superhuman or just a robot? If we go back to the 1982 movie entitled Season of the Witch, we'll find a man named Mr. Cochrane who was making robots that walk in the same way Michael does, and even with the same rigid looks. But Dr. Smith was secretly able to uncover this fact and ultimately destroyed the lab. So, could it be that Michael was made by Mr. Cochrane? These are Michael's breaths, and as we can see, he is breathing like a normal person. And here, after his accident, the doctor examined him like any other patient. There are traces of blood in the place where he fell. Now, does this refute the hypothesis that Michael is a robot? The answer is not so easy. Did you notice this guy with a hat? He rarely showed up on the series. Most of you may not have noticed. But what does this man hide? Is he the real monster who makes Michael Myers a victim? But how? In the 1995 movie, this man appeared out of nowhere and seemed obsessed with ancient symbols related to Halloween, as he said.
Of all the runes, Thorn had the most negative influence. The Druids were also great mathematicians and astronomers, but the Thorn symbol is actually a constellation of stars that appears from time to time on Halloween night. Whenever it appears, he appears.
As if he understood the reason why Michael committed crimes on Halloween only and over specific years. And here, when the face of the man with the hat appeared,
Win.
And as you heard, he and Dr. Loomis said the words that allowed them to survive. Focus with me on the word win. The same man appeared here in Grace Anderson's sanatorium with a man wearing the thorn symbol shown here. And listen to these words here. He said,
Now Halloween is over.
Halloween is over. The doctor on his side said it was accepted from Dr. Wynn's research. However, Michael suddenly turned against his makers and killing them all. But how did I know that they were the ones who made him? First, look at this picture. It has a DNA code with these strange symbols. Does this mean that Michael was genetically manipulated and transformed when he came into the clinic? Isn't this picture the best proof? Look at this. So it's very clear that they are genetically engineering the embryos. However, despite that, there was no genetic engineering when Michael was born, and it cannot be done after birth. Still, the brain can be controlled. But how? They may operate on the brain by implanting a microchip that controls the person. This seems to be the most logical hypothesis. Nevertheless, this isn't enough because Michael's body is an iron body that nothing can affect. So, what's the secret behind that? Was Michael born with the ability to self-heal like a salamander? Or was he injected with substances that enforce that ability? The latest scientific studies indicate that it may be possible to activate this feature in a similar way to the one found in salamanders. This may seem strange, but it happens to us continuously, such as hair growth after removing it from the roots, and it also happens to all of us in the embryonic stage. So it is clear that Michael may have been injected with materials that activate the self-healing mechanism similar to that found in the embryo, which made him invincible.
Oh, nice. Waste of time.
Yet, here, we see that they have said that he is very heavy as if he weighed a ton, as if he was made of lead. Does this indicate that he is a human being fused to a machine? When the sanatorium guards pushed him into a bed with a woman, he never moved, as if he had no sexual instinct, exactly as a robot.
I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death.
Now, let's take a closer look at what Dr. Loomis said. He said that he didn't have any feelings at all, but he treated his sister Lori kindly, and that he had no understanding. But here we notice that he understands and plans. A person who doesn't have an understanding of the world can do these things. Loomis only saw Michael in the sanatorium. Michael could have been pretending because reality reveals something else. Yet, here we find ourselves between two contradictions. That he is a beast who kills without mercy, nor thinking or understanding, and the idea that he is someone who understands, who is capable of feeling and sympathy. The solution to this dilemma is that he is a psychopath who was exploited by Grace Anderson's sanatorium, and this becomes clear by the evidence that I have already mentioned. Now we know who is pushing Michael to kill, but we don't know how to stop the massacres, as he is a victim of imperious circumstances and exploitation by evil people. Is there any way to make him an unviolent person after all these crimes? Yes, the solution seems to be there, and his sister Lori said it right here when she confronted him by saying,
"You failed, Michael, because I'm not afraid of you."
But is what she said actually true? Here we see that this person confronted Michael and wasn't afraid of him, but Michael killed him without mercy. On the other hand, look here how Freddy ordered Michael to carry out his order, and he was never afraid of him, and Michael was obedient to him. It seems as though Michael sometimes doesn't kill those who are afraid of him and sometimes does. Isn't that confusing? But if we look closely when he showed Lori his picture, he was calm with her and didn't kill her. But after she stopped him, he decided to kill her. Back in the sanatorium, when he was young, Michael has never treated this nurse in a bad way, but he did right after she said that he wasn't as kind as his sister. Here we see him with two of his colleagues, but he only killed the one who insulted his mother and underestimated him. Does this mean that Michael was only killing the people who harmed him? There is another point that supports this idea. Everyone who violated the sanctity of his family, lived or has been to his family house, were killed. The person who carried his mask here and provoked him faced the same fate. In the last movie 2021, his sister said,
You can't defeat it with brute force.
But what is she referring to? Listen also to this man's words.
Maybe he wasn't looking out. Maybe he was looking in, at his reflection, at himself.
Don't they point out that Michael is a good person and is a victim of something, and violence won't help him? You may disagree with me and say that it's wrong, but keep in mind that any court will reduce the sentence of a murderer with the same profile. So what will we see in the Halloween Ends? Here, when Laurie took off his mask, he stopped until he put it on again. Isn't that another weakness for Michael? He said that when he was young that the mask hid his ugly face. So far, we've revealed a lot about this mysterious character and what lies behind him. We also know that Michael is a victim of force majeure circumstances, and unfortunately for him, he was born with an unhealthy brain, lived in an unsuitable environment, and was subjected to the most horrific forms of exploitation from an institution that claims to be conducting rehabilitation, where in fact it was a center for the implementation of demonic ideas. So, now we still need to understand how Michael's nightmare will end. His mother and the horse appeared with him several times. So, what is the story behind that? We note here that he said that his mother didn't die, even though the police claimed that she committed suicide. And Laurie often had dreams of family reunification with this huge man, who may be the father. His mother was declared dead by the police, but she reappeared. What about the father? Could he be alive as well? These last things are still a mystery and I don't have an answer for them. We're waiting for the last movie, which will be released soon, to know the full truth. Until then, I'll upload a video that provides a detailed explanation of it and put it in the description box. Now, in your opinion, dear viewer, after you got to know Michael and his story, what do you think will happen to him in the last movie? Will he be killed? Break away from the Grace Anderson sanatorium's control? Or will the family reconciliation make a change in Michael's heart? Or will something happen? Something that no one would have expected? Tell me your opinion in the comments. And if it seems confusing to you, otherwise, watch the video with your fans and tell me your opinion. At last, if you know a horror movie that you like and you want a scientific explanation for it, drop it in the comments section.